Oh, I think we're live. Hi, welcome to my show. Yee. I first met our guest at a Sari Sari photo shoot with Neil Oshima. She was still a teenager. She was a bit surly. Maybe she was self conscious, as most teens are, but she warmed up when I chatted with her. So I then became a magazine editor. Next thing I knew, she had become a model. Next thing I knew, she joined PMAP, became a top model. Next thing I knew, she became the president of PMAP. Next thing I knew, she became a beauty columnist, started a beauty brand. Then the brand succeeded. They launched so many products and so many branches. Next thing I knew, she got an MBA. Next thing I knew, she wrote a best selling book and then went on to win some of the most prestigious awards for entrepreneurs. Not to mention, she married a wonderful guy and had two more amazing kids. If that's not what is called having it all, I don't know what is. What most people don't know is what she has gone through. Today, we're going to squeeze out the secrets of success of model, mogul, and mom, Rissa Mananquil Trillo. Let's all welcome Rissa. Yay! Hi, Rissa.
Hi, Myrza. Thanks so much for having me on your Facebook Live.
Thank you for saying yes.
Of course, we have so much history together. You know, you're
I
also one of the people
know.
I really super look up to in this industry. And I prepared myself to get grilled by one of the,
Grilled.
one of the most intelligent and brilliant women in the industry.
Okay, grill I shall.
Oh no, I asked for it.
How are you? How are you
I'm
locking
doing good.
down? I
Um,
saw I saw in your IG that Audra, your daughter, celebrated her birthday.
yes, she celebrated last April 25, and I also celebrated my birthday on a
Oh,
lockdown,
happy
but I
birthday.
feel thanks. But I'm used to quiet celebrations because my birthday always falls on Holy Week. But I feel, of course, it's more heartbreaking for the kids because, they want to be with their friends and they want to, celebrate with family. So it was the first time, I guess, for everyone celebrating this year to experience that kind of a birthday. And it was so touching how even Celestia went all out to make her
Oh,
sister feel special, and even her kasambahay. So it was so simple and nakaka-touch because she didn't ask for anything actually. She just felt like it was the best birthday ever, and she was just happy that she was with family.
are they watching now?
I'm not sure. They're with Paolo, I think.
If
I'm
they're
in a
watching,
separate room.
I'm sure they'll be so inspired to know your story. But so we're gonna start from the start.
Okay.
So I read or maybe watched somewhere from one of your interviews that when you were young, you were already very entrepreneurial. You were selling snacks and drinks on your street. Can you make cuento a little bit about that?
Okay. I think the first time, entrepreneurs have this. I guess I was always entrepreneurial because I had this natural knack of creating something out of nothing and finding opportunities. So I remember, I think I was grade two, and it was such a big trend, those woven friendship bracelets.
Oh yeah.
And with my allowance, I bought those embroidery threads, and I would weave them into friendship bracelets, and I would sell them to neighbors, friends, and family. And I remember parang one bracelet I was selling for 2 pesos, which was, parang contributed to my allowance. And then when I got to grades, older in grade school, there was this set of office townhouses near our house, and they would always leave to buy food because it was residential, but the one townhouse was turned into an office of sorts. And I thought, hey, no one's selling food to them. So I set up tables, chairs, and an umbrella, and I kind of raided our ref and started
Wow.
selling
Did your mother
juice.
know?
Yes, she found out. She found out. But of course, when we would do the grocery, she knew it was for that little stall I put up, and chocolates and little snacks, and we would sell them to the office people. So, and then even at home, because I had an editor, a newspaper editor as a mom, I
Yes,
grew up.
right.
We grew up being in her office all the time. So we would see how newspapers were made manually from scratch, not how it is now with all
Yeah,
the digital printing and technology.
right.
And I guess to keep us entertained, she would open press kits and tell me, okay, open these, read through it. And if there was an article she already proofread, she would tell me, okay, proofread this
Wow.
again for me. So that was the kind of work I was doing. So seeing how everything was going in her office, at home, I would make my own mini newspapers. I
Wow, what
write
was
my
it
own
called?
headlines.
What was your
I forgot
newspaper
because I
called?
also gave I didn't I don't think I gave it a name. I just wrote a
Okay, anyway.
headline. I wrote articles, and when you'd flip it, I also wrote short stories and books and comics and sell them to family and friends and neighbors. So I guess that those little experiences were my little bites into entrepreneurship, because I just enjoyed creating, finding opportunities, and later on it just became finding an opportunity in the business industry, a industry.
So you had the early makings talaga. Always looking, how do I make money? What is the opportunity here? What do people need, right? You're also a very good student. And you're also actually a ballerina. You studied ballet for a long time, and you actually almost became professional, right? You were dancing for a ballet company.
Yeah, that was my first real dream, to become the next Lisa Makuha. Because when I was a kid, my mom would take us to the ballet performances at CCP, and I just remember feeling so enchanted watching all the performances. It's like they weren't human. And I felt so motivated and inspired. Yeah, no, really, to see a ballet performance, it's like it's a totally different skill that you needed the discipline to be able to achieve all that, and the talent and the skill. I actually started late. I started, I think, summer before grade 5. So that's late, the buffer ballet. You should be
Yeah,
starting early. But I remember as
yeah.
early as 5 years old, I wanted to already take up ballet because we had a neighbor who had ballet shoes. And I fitted them, and I told my mom, Mommy, I want to take up ballet. No, no, you're too young. You might break your bones. And then every year I would ask. And finally, I got the chance when I was grade 5, or incoming
All
grade
right.
5. And at the same time, I also got very lucky because Lisa Makuha was also teaching classes
So
that
she was
time. So
actually your teacher.
yes, I actually went to 2 teachers because I felt so pressured that I need to catch up. From school, I would go to another school to take after classes in Poveda. I would go to Miriam to take ballet classes with Lisa de la Fuente, and during the weekends, I would take with Lisa Makuha because
Wow.
I really wanted to push myself. No, I'm gonna do this. And during the summer, I was able to apprentice for the Philippine Ballet Theater, and I got to dance in the performances in CCP for Swan Lake and Romeo and
Wow.
Juliet. Not as a main role,
Of
as one of
course.
those the core,
Part of the
yeah,
core, yeah. And
yeah.
then,
But
but
it
you
was
didn't pursue it.
so, the nerd in me let it go because
Oh,
the
okay.
rehearsals were lasting until midnight. I would go home so tired, and I felt like my schoolwork was being compromised. So I was, I think, second year high school, and I decided to let it go because I felt schoolwork was number one at the end of the day.
Being a ballet lover myself, I can understand how ballet molds your mind and your attitude, and instills discipline, because the
Yeah,
steps are so precise, right? You can't just free form steps because they're very precise. They have names, it has to be uh, done in a perfect way. It's like the baking of dance, di ba? Hindi
yeah.
pwedeng maski pa paano. So at an early age, I think you already have had a perfectionist streak in you, because ballet requires being a perfectionist. And then now that you mentioned that you had supplemental ballet classes to excel in your regular ballet classes, I can really see how much of a perfectionist you were even back then. Do you think this is what kind of started it off for you?
Um, my mom is one of the biggest influences on why I'm a perfectionist. I really pushed myself to do well in school because I just wanted to give her the best grades. She would always tell me, when I was in school, her tests, she would tell me, were always perfect or one mistake. And as a
Wow.
kid, you felt like, oh, I have to be that way. I never felt it was a negative kind of pressure because
Yeah.
everything I did was to make my mom happy, to please her, to make her, to come home and see her happy and proud. Even when we would get report cards, I never asked for rewards. As in, she didn't have to motivate me to do that. For me, it was, that's what I could give back to my parents to be able to be the best student I could be. So I had a mom. That's the kind of mom I had. In fact, when I got into college, when we were looking at the different schools to apply, my mom is from U. Both my mom and dad are both from UP. But
Yeah.
my mom's comes from a family of Ateneans, her brothers. So when I was applying and filling up forms, I said, "Oh, I want to also apply to as much schools as I want." I think that's the normal mindset every high school graduate has. And she said, "No, you're only applying to UP and Ateneo." So I go, "What? What if I don't make it?" "No, if you try to apply to another college, I'm gonna ground you." And
Oh
I
my
was like,
gosh.
so, but looking back, that's how much faith she had in me. That kind of confidence that she really believed in me. In fact, when I was filling up the forms, she said, you should take up business management, because I guess as my mom, she could see the best course suited for me. So I checked the business management course of Ateneo, and she said, "No, you make the business management honors course your number one choice." I go, "What? You think I'll make it?" "Of course." And I
Wow.
did. That's supreme confidence. And now every time I look back, I want to be that kind of mom that, to my own daughters, that there's no doubt. You need that kind of confidence from your parents. And I want to be like that to my daughters too. That to have that kind of mom that supremely believes in you.
Some might construe it as undue pressure, right? They might say, "What a
Or like a
dragon
tiger
mom!
mom.
What a
Dragon
tiger
mom.
mom! What a helicopter mom!" But you don't see it that way.
No, I don't see it that way at all. I think she knew the right way to motivate me. She never had to tutor me. She never had to sit me down. I studied on my own, and since she worked with the media, she would get home late at night because they would close the pages for the next day. And
Right.
even if she got home 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I would wait for her. And if I had book reports, I would ask her to double check my written work, because she was an editor and I had the best person proofreading all my
Right.
written projects. So that's the kind of study habits we had, if ever. But everything else, I would study on my own. I was the nerdy, diligent type that would give her all the reply slips. "Okay, here are the reply slips. Just sign and fill them up. Everything's ready and all." So I understood that my parents were very busy, but I think I come from a generation with parents like that. You grew up, you're left to fend for yourself, but that's how you grow up faster. And now my generation of parents were different. They were more hands-on. We want to be there every step of the way. But I never thought of it as anything negative. I mean, I was never, if some people might think it's something that might scar them, it never did. In fact, I always look back and look at it as something that pushed me to do my best every single time, no matter what it is.
So they had very high expectations. You mentioned somewhere before that your mom wanted you to be a doctor and your dad wanted you to be a lawyer. How did they react when you decided to become a model?
They're still very supportive. I think they still understood the kind of opportunities that were there for me when I graduated. I think I look at it as a business decision. I graduated from business management, but I chose modeling because it would earn me more than a 9 to 5 job as a fresh graduate. And it allowed me extra free time to still explore other passions. And I'm so glad I took that road, because I met so many people in the fashion and beauty industry, learned so much about makeup, beauty, fashion, and you know unlike in the corporate world, you're just limited to the same people. But I got to interact with so many kinds of characters. I mean, it strengthened how I am, because you have to deal with so many kinds of people in the industry.
What were some of the things that you learned that you could apply later on to your new career?
What do you mean?
What did you
Learn
learn
the
from
modeling.
modeling or meeting the kinds of people that you met or the demands that it required from you?
I think it's more of your, it builds your strength, because um, you know, you, when you're on the runway or on the pages of a magazine, it's a kind of industry that you have to be sanay that they'll make pintas. Right? While
Right.
you're walking down, right? While you're walking
Right.
down the runway,
Yeah.
may mga audience na, di naman bagay sa kanya, bakit siya nasa rampa? Or she's too thin, she's not tall enough. And you get stronger for things like that. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what you can bring to the table. You know if you're the most professional model. I wasn't the tallest model. I wasn't the
Right.
fairest. I didn't have the silky, long black, commercial worthy hair. But I made it a point that I would be the most professional model that anyone could ever work with. And, being the best model someone can work with will always beat someone who's a pretty face or has all the pretty assets, because at the end of the day everyone wants someone that can make work easy and can deliver.
What
So
were some of the most disappointing or traumatic kinds of rejection that you experienced as a model, if any? I know that you've often told the story of when you were a child, you were teased for being negra, or in high school, you were considered to be an ugly duckling, such that you formed an ugly duckling crew for your barkada.
Ricardo.
But what were some of the stories of rejection, if any, that you experienced when you were modeling?
In modeling, well, maybe to backtrack, like when I was in grade school, I would really get picked on for my skin color. I would be teased as negra, and Somalian, because I was so
Right.
thin.
Yeah. And
Um,
Sushmita,
and
right?
Shushmita, who was then the first Indian Miss
Yeah.
Universe, and because of my appearance. And I remember there was one time we were allowed to be in civilian clothes in school for an occasion. And I remember wearing skinny jeans, a turtleneck, layered necklaces, and a fedora hat and low-cut boots. And then my batchmates would just look at me and say, parang, tingin mo ba? Okay, suot mo? Tingin mo ba? Maganda ka? They would say
Wow. To
things
your
like that.
face. To your
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. And I wouldn't make patol. I mean, this is what makes me feel great. I mean, I think one of the things when I look back, a lot of people go through getting picked on, bullied, or teased, or even in the workplace. I'm sure there's a lot of judging. And at the end of the
Yes.
day, as while growing up or going through this, one of the biggest things I realized is you just have to be yourself. No one has to get it. Just be yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to change for someone. No one has to get it. Just be yourself. So in high school, the way we formed our ugly duckling crew, Barkada, was my friends and I, one of my kabarkadas, her boyfriend then saw all our old pictures. And he said, grabe, ang pangat nyo pala dati. Para kayong
Wow.
mga ugly duckling. And that guy isn't her boyfriend anymore. She ended up marrying someone else. So that's how our ugly duckling crew name was born. So we really embraced it. Yeah, sure, we were ugly ducklings before, but now we're one of the most beautiful swans. Every ugly duckling can bloom into a beautiful swan. So don't ever think the way you are now will be the way you are for the rest of your life. So now we're calling our kids UDC version 2, and
Oh, cute.
yeah, so that we're also trying to let them embrace the story that how you look isn't, at the end of the day, that's not the most important thing.
Where did you get your confidence and strength? I mean, children can be mean and they
Yeah.
grow up to be mean adults as well. And so when you're a kid and people are saying, kala mo maganda ka, kala mo fashion ka, where do you even get the strength of character to reply back, Oh, bakit? Where did you get that? Did it come from your parents or
I think it's
where did
important. It starts from the home because I was surrounded by people who love me. My parents. I mean, I was told by my own parents, "You're beautiful," and our kasambahays, our driver, people we were with every day. And at the end of the day, the people who surround you and love you, those are the opinions that matter. And you have to realize that at an early age. And having my own daughters now, I realized how important it is that they have to feel confident at a young age, that they have parents that believe in them, and we also send the right message. A lot of people always make the mistake when they see kids that, oh, your daughter's so pretty, or she, what a pretty dress, her hair is so nice. We always try to remind our kids that what's important is you're a good person, you're kind, you know how to share, you're generous, you're obedient, respectful. So when we praise our kids, we also tell them, oh, Celeste, that's so nice of you. Thank you for sharing that with Audra. Parang that's what we
right?
really focus on when we compliment them too. Um, so there. I think, yeah, the confidence really has to start in the people around you at home, the people who believe in you, and the people who love you.
So you say that when you started modeling, you were not the tallest. Maybe you were not stereotypically the kind of beauty that could land in 1,000 commercials, right? Because
Yeah.
our society has always favored fair skin and you know uh, the mestiza kind of beauty. How did you manage to find your competitive advantage? This is something that would be very helpful for you as an entrepreneur later, right? But how did you forge your own kind of brand and uh, move on to reinforce, like as you said, professionalism was your strong suit?
I also embraced my being a morena. And when you're starting out as a model, you're signed up with an agency or agencies approach to represent you for TVCs. And I would get messages, oh, can we present you for a whitening commercial? Can we present you for a whitening product, deodorant, lotion, or whatever? And I made it a point, it was easy to say yes because, oh, this is my chance to have a TVC. But I made it a point to say no because I believed I have nothing against, of course, whitening products because everyone wants to celebrate their beauty another way. But I didn't want to become fairer. I was happy with my skin color, and it didn't seem. I felt like I was compromising my own values if I do something, do a TVC for a product that I don't use and I don't believe in. I was that kind of model. It wasn't about being able to star in a TVC and get paid. It was very important to me that I believed in the product and I used it because at the end of the day, you're in it, right? Um, Even if just as a talent. So even if I got a lot of offers to be presented for those kinds of commercials, I would say no, and I would patiently wait for the right commercial to come. And it took a lot of years, but my dream commercial was the first, the brand I've always wanted to work with, and it was Pond's.
And how
And I
old were
felt
you at
so.
that point?
That was 2007, I think, or
Okay.
six.
So you were, ano
It
na,
was a. It was you know um at
towards the
the
end of
latter
your,
of my,
yeah,
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 modeling career. Yeah, and I really waited for it. And the nice thing about that was, I think Pons is one of the dream commercials.
brands. Yeah.
Yeah, for beauty.
For
As a
for
model, you always
anyone.
have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always have that
Yeah.
bucket list. I want to be able
Yes.
to do a runway show for this brand. I want to be able to do a TVC with this brand. I want to come out in this magazine. You have that checklist of sorts. And Pons was on my checklist. And even if it came at the latter part of my career, I felt so proud that a brand like Pons embraced different kinds of beauty. And the TVC I did wasn't just as a talent, but since I was already a beauty columnist that time, it was for a beauty expert campaign. So it made me even more proud because I had a voice and I wasn't just a talent in the TVC.
Speaking of bucket list, you seem to excel in whatever field you choose to pursue. I remember uh, the early or maybe earlier mid 2000s, top fashion show director Jackie Aquino said, I just came from a PMAP team building workshop, and my gosh, the leadership skills of Rissa Mananquil really stood out. I think she's going to be the next PMAP president. And you did become the next PMAP president. Was this on your bucket list? How did it happen? Was it like your goal to be the president?
Wow, I didn't know Tito Jackie said that
You
about
did.
me.
Hi, Jackie, if you're watching.
Hi, Tito Jackie. I miss you so much. Um, yeah, I was very young when I started PMAP, and um, I started out as a junior board member, but it wasn't in my bucket list to be president. I don't know. I just was so driven to make a difference in the industry because when I started modeling, we were faced with a modeling environment that there wasn't proper payment, proper rates, and the work hours weren't fair. So when I experienced that myself, like there were shows when I would get my fee, I wouldn't know, oh, ito pala yung PF ko. Like I was still learning the
Right.
ropes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how it went. And it's like, how can this be an industry? So I felt very driven that it has to change. I mean, we have to make it right. So when they asked me, I think I got elected to be junior board member. I was very active, and I always did my best and contributed to the Nyoras, who were the board members that time.
Who was the president
when,
then? Was it Apples?
No, it was Grace already.
Oh, okay.
Grace Molina. Hi, Grace, if you're
Hi,
watching.
Grace.
So there, and then we had a team building. I wasn't expecting to be the next successor because there were other older, more senior models who seemed to be next in line. And I was so surprised during the team building. I was nominated and I won as president. So, but I didn't feel pressured. Like I didn't feel scared. If that's the choice of the association, then I'll take it on. I'll accept it. I wasn't there to decline the how people believed in me. So there I took on a role, and I think I was the youngest PMEP president.
President ever.
Yeah,
Wow.
at the age that I started. So I guess they felt. I guess in an industry like that, there's also, well, in any industry, parang may not naman discrimination, but they would view age as a hindrance,
a hindrance.
Yeah. So why ay nako iha, ineng, ganyan, 'di ba mga nila.
Wow, they would say that to you.
No, when I wasn't yet, when I was still new, I remember parang I would hear stories, sidetrack kwento. I would hear stories that some new models during backstage at a fashion show, older models would try to initiate you into the modeling world by hiding your shoes, your dresses.
May ganun pa?
Never,
nung time mo?
No, hindi ko na naabutan. But I would get the head to toe looks and parang, talaga, gusto mo mag-model? Yung mga
wow.
Even during a go-see, not just from models, but even from other directors, parang, talaga, nakasulat here, that's your waistline and height, ganyan. So I would, you really get tough in the modeling industry.
Yeah.
I think nothing...
Grabe kayo ha.
Kung nakikinig kayo, it's okay. Thank you. Look at where we are
you
now.
made us strong. We ate your bashing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And dessert. So anyway, so looking back at the age, I remember I just felt I had a job to do. And I never thought my age should be a hindrance. So when we had our board in place, when I got nominated as president, what I did was write to all the directors, and I called for a meeting, and I set it up in the boardroom, one of the boardrooms of the hotels in Makati.
Wow.
And they were all probably thinking, that's the only way. I mean, you have to do it professionally. How can you be taken seriously if you do it in a mall or in a restaurant?
How did you feel commanding a whole boardroom with what, directors who were twice your age maybe, and then telling them that you have to standardize the rates. This is what we deserve to be paid. How did you feel and how did you pull it off?
Honestly, I never thought about who was older, who had many more years, or the seniority. To me, there was a job to be done, and these are the people we need to talk to, and we just have to do it. It wasn't a matter of, oh, I'm young, I'm new, you're seasoned, you're
Right,
older, you're
right.
twice my age. Honestly, never. It's only now that I look back. Oh yeah, I was so young, pala, no? And I wonder how they felt sitting there, and there was this young girl telling them what to do. So, but it's only now that I thought about it. But back then, there was a job to be done, and I just wanted to do it.
How did
So
they react? How did they react?
I think it set the right tone for our generation of board members that time, and they all complied. So since then, we set standard rates for the modeling industry. And aside from the directors, I also touched base with all the biggest clients in the fashion industry, Rustans, SSI, and I sent direct letters to all the, the leaders in the industry and told them, shared with them the plans for the association. So I wanted to make sure the message was clear, but we were there to work together with everyone to make the industry better and more professional. And we're not there to, you know, follow us or else. It wasn't anything like that. I mean, it was to really elevate how the industry would be. It was for everyone.
And the industry has you and the people who came before you for that. All
Yes,
this.
I mean,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
No,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say, looking when you mentioned all the models that came before me, you guys are really, all the models that came before me are really the people, the women, the models I looked up to. Every time as a kid, or when I was starting my modeling career, and I would be asked, who are your modeling idols or icons, I wouldn't consider the foreign supermodels that time as my idols. It was the local models like you, Apples, Tweety, Abigail, Lala. These were the women I wanted to be like. So every time I would get a project, I would think, what were they able to do? I want to be able to do that too. That was my measure. It wasn't, it wasn't about, oh, I want to be like Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, or, all the supermodels of the 90s. It was all the local Filipino models that came before me that really set the standards for me.
So during this time of your modeling success, you were also a teenage mom and then a single mom. And this is something you
Yes.
talk about in your book as one of the kind of hurdles that uh, shocked everyone, shocked your parents, but also made you very, very strong. Would you care to talk about this particular time in your life?
Um, you know, I think it was a shock because I was the perfect student to
Yes,
the eyes of my
exactly.
parents, and no
Exactly.
one ever imagined that would happen. I didn't. That was also a shock to me. It. I think even if I look back 1,000 times, I would never change what I went through. I graduated. A lot of my batchmates didn't know that I marched and graduated already pregnant. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because I already knew that time. And um, what I did was, I felt like, why should this change my future? Why will I give up just, because something like this happened? So what I did was, which I probably women today wouldn't do anymore, but I was living in an era where it was so taboo. So
Yeah.
um, when I found out, I made a game plan for myself. I marched, I graduated. Um, when we graduated, my parents took me and my twin brother, because we graduated the same year, on a reward trip to Europe. I didn't tell them
Yeah.
yet. And then I made sure first I was already enrolled in college. And I went through the ORSM, and I already paid my tuition. And right before school was about to start, that's when I told my mom and my dad. So, wala nang bawian, naka-enroll na ako eh. And I felt like just because things like these happen doesn't mean I have no more future. I still can have a future. It's up to me if I want to give up, and I didn't want to. So that's how I viewed it. And I went, through school with a growing belly, and it was perfect. The nerd in me was so happy because it was perfect. I gave birth during sem break, and I never missed a day of class. And after sem break, I was able to go back.
Parang tinime mo pa yung no?
I
Perfect
know.
timing. Ito yung timing perfection.
So yeah, it all worked out, and I didn't have the same normal college experience as most people my age, because after class, instead of hanging out, I would go straight home because I had a baby to take care of, and attend to. So it was just all school work and motherhood.
Wow. That's so incredible. I didn't realize that it was your high school graduation pala. Kala ko college graduation. High school graduation pala. And
Yeah, and
how did this strengthen you even more? I mean, it's not easy to do that, right? Like, so people in college knew, and so of course there's a difference in how they treat you, or was it around that time it was not so extraordinary na ba?
no, I think one of my biggest rocks was my best friend.
Mhm.
She's not in the Philippines anymore. She migrated, but every time I look back, parang I feel so thankful because she was the one who gave me also the confidence and strength. So I said, she was the only one who knew, and I said, how is this? Can I, this Ateneo, is that okay in college? And it's it's not like the traditional
Yeah.
girls exclusive school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the moment I knew it was something that wouldn't be an issue, I pursued and continued with um, finishing college. And in fact, the nerd in me was still so motivated, even while juggling schoolwork and being a young mom, that I was regularly on the dean's list, because
Wow.
those are the two things I just focused my time on, and I still felt like I had to give back to my parents even after everything that happened. I mean, I still owe so much to them, and I wanted to secure, studying as a young mom in college. It wasn't just your own future you're securing; you're also securing your child's future. So my motivation was double. It wasn't just for me, but also for my son. So I made sure talaga to excel and do my best.
Wow. So you always seem to have a game plan, like plan, strategize, draw back, plan, strategize, di ba? Draw back. Did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or as they used to call entrepreneurs before, businesswoman?
Or negosyante.
Or negosyante? Because I watched an interview of the founder of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, and she said from a young age she knew that she wanted to invent a product that would make millions and billions. She just didn't know what, until one day she was wearing white pants and her underwear was showing through, and so she wore a pair of pantyhose, and then she's like, this is the product. So nauna yung plan niya before the product.
Mm.
Did you always plan to be like a very successful businesswoman?
I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, you're always looking for that gap that the industry isn't addressing. And all my experience in modeling allowed me to see that, because when when I was modeling, there weren't a lot of brands back then for makeup. So you're backstage, and then it really looks so gray and ashy on morenas. And you feel
Oh,
like,
right.
how can I walk down the runway like this? And you really try to go to the bathroom, add bronzer, and try to, syempre you want to look good. It was so frustrating for a lot of the morenas that time, because, the lip colors wouldn't complement morena skin tones. The foundation really was so ashy. And even if there was a perfect match or a close match, a lot of the formulas were made for four-season countries like the US or Canada. It wasn't meant for Asian weather. So sobrang kapal. And, you as a model yourself before, you know how makeup can really take a toll on your skin.
Right, right.
A lot of people always see that, oh, it's so glamorous to be a model. You're on the runway and the
Right.
magazine, on TV or whatever. But the moment I get home and wipe off that makeup, my skin was, horrible. I had so much bumps and clogged pores and blemishes. Like it didn't, I felt like it was so hard. Like, can't we wear makeup that suited the skin tone, but also didn't have to compromise the health of your skin?
Right.
So, and it was something none of the brands could address. And that's why getting into Happy Skin, it's funny, every time I look back, when Happy Skin started, even if my husband and I put in our savings for that, I never, never, ever felt it was a gamble. Even if I had just given birth and I later had a second daughter, we had just started married or our married life. You usually think, oh my gosh, that's such a gamble. You're starting a
Right.
business and you're
Right.
not sure and you don't
Why
have extra
now?
savings. Yeah. But there was never a second I doubted because I understood the pain points of the industry and I knew how the consumer felt. So it's so different. Like, let's say today, if I start something, I'm more comfortable. My kids are already, we have a more secure life, but it was different. Like, because I was so sure of what the industry needed back then.
So you believed in your product so much that you knew
Yeah.
there was no way it would not succeed. But in the beginning, it wasn't always victorious, right? You encountered
Oh
some
yeah.
drawbacks. Maybe you want to tell the people this is what you don't know. For every business that succeeds, they have to fail a few times before they get it off the ground. What were some of
Yeah.
these failures?
A lot of people always think, wow, you're a brand that succeeds or does well always gets all the yeses. But we had also our fair share of no's. And I think one of the biggest and most memorable was when we were looking for retailers to carry the brand is when we were talking to Rustans. And
Uh-huh.
Rustans was like, one of the dream retailers I wanted Happy Skin to be in. So, and we discussed and shared the what the brand was all about and showed the products, and we got a no. And I was like heartbroken. I remember talagang I couldn't talk. We were going down the elevator and I was like, why I mean, what did you do wrong? How can that be? And we were about to launch then, and I remember, no, I don't want to give up, I want to try again. And right before we
Wow.
launched, they gave reconsidered and we got a yes to be inside Rustan's and Beauty Bar.
Wow.
So I think for anyone starting a business, it's getting the no's and rejections is part of it. Even just like in modeling, not
Right.
every so I'm not a stranger to rejection because
Right. We were trained to face it.
yeah, yeah, lahat na kung gusto nilang pintasan ng nasa runway, talk behind your back, or get rejected, you didn't get that project or that show or the TVC. That's whatever, all those rejections just make you stronger and prepare you. You learn, parang, okay, now I know what to do next time. Now I know what I should be doing. And sometimes you also shouldn't take it personally, especially when as a model. Sometimes it doesn't mean you're not pretty, you're not good, or you don't have the skills. Sometimes you're just not what they're looking for. There's something, it's a criteria. So you should never take it personally. I think in life you also have to look at it that way. Because there are a lot of women, they feel rejection is such an attack on themselves, on who they are. But sometimes there's just something that needs to be checked, and it doesn't mean you're less of a person or you're not qualified or you're not great or good. It's just that they're looking for something else and the right project will come along.
And to apply this to the daily lives of our fellow Filipinas, uh, I often say, especially now in the age of social media, when everyone's comparing themselves to the next person, diba? It can really fuel your insecurity. And I often say, or ask friends, bakit ang mga Pinoy men, lahat feeling gwapo, pero yung mga Pinay women, lahat parang feeling pangit, ang gaganda naman nila. Diba? And this is one of the things that you always mentioned about uh, your purpose for modeling and putting up a makeup brand is because you want Pinays to feel better about themselves. Can you talk about this and why it has become your why?
I think there's so much hesitation for women to celebrate who they are. Confidence really comes from accepting who you are. Like, ako tinanggap ko, morena ako. Ako tinanggap ko, I'm not the tallest in the modeling industry. I think that's where your confidence has to stem. And whether in modeling or in the beauty industry or in the era of social media, um, I don't know, it really is so rooted in embracing who you are. When
Right.
you enter a room full of people, sometimes the person that really stands out isn't the tallest. She's not the most beautiful. Maybe she's not the one with the it bag or it outfit or it shoes. But yung may dating, kasi iba yung
Uh-uh.
confidence. That's just something you can't buy, and you have to be able to embrace everything yourself about you, whether what your shortcomings are and what you're really good at and what you excel in. And that's so important in developing that kind of confidence. You have to be an honest person and honest to yourself, and accept and be honest. Like, this is what I'm not good at, but that's okay. I'm super good at this. It's just like in photo shoots or in styling or dressing yourself up, to downplay the flaws, you highlight your best assets. For example, your hips are wide, so the styling trick or the dressing trick is to draw the attention upwards. You put, accessories or barrier off shoulders or your collarbone, because those are your best assets, while downplaying what you're not good at or your flaws. So, sometimes you have it's just knowing how to work with what you have talaga.
Speaking of the thing, since we learned this as models, right? Who we are as successful models is not how we came into the modeling world. Like if people only knew what kind of transformation we had to undergo, whether physical or internal, just to achieve that dating. If you could break it down, what are these factors or elements that comprise yung dating?
The X factor. That's the thing. I think it's 90% confidence, 10% physical, to be very honest. Like I said, right, when you enter a room, the person who stands out and you'll remember even when you leave that room is probably not the most beautiful, but the one who felt supremely confident about herself or himself, even for guys. So I think confidence is really so important, for having that the thing. But it has to have that balance of uh, humility, para it doesn't cross over to yabang.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can be confident without stepping on other people or feeling you're the only one in the world like that. I mean, it has to be a balance of humility
Plus,
naman.
also more than the thing. I mean, the thing will get you noticed. The thing will make you stand out. But in the end, you have to deliver, right? Hindi pwedeng, siya na yung pinakamalakas yung dating, pero hindi naman siya
Oh yeah,
nakadeliver, right?
definitely. Definitely, yeah, definitely. That, dapat kasama na yun. You are able to deliver no matter what kind of work is expected of you as a model, as a stylist, as a makeup artist, or as an entrepreneur. You have to be able to deliver. So that's just, that can only take you so far.
Right. And you have often stressed that uh, the notion of hard work has always been instilled with you, whether being a good ballerina, a good student, a good model. Hard work has always been key for you. And you were talking about how people think that when you're an entrepreneur, finally you'll have all the free time in the world, and then you have dispelled that notion and said, actually, you have less time because you're working 24/7. Can you talk
That's
about
true.
some stories maybe about how hard you were working? I mean, how do you juggle it with kids and a marriage?
Um, a lot of people that I get to talk to always tell me, oh, I want to have my own business so that I have more time. And I have to, I just be very honest with them. If you think having your own business will give you more time, that's not true. Because when you start your own business, you will play all roles and you will be even busier. And especially, let's say, like for Happy Skin, we're in retail. Pag weekend at lahat ng holidays, that's when retail is the busiest compared to if you were with a corporation and you had a 9 to 5 job. Holidays are really yours. So a lot of people have that misconception about having your own business. And I really tell my friends, that's not true. So you have to be mentally, emotionally, and physically prepared for that. And I think another important thing, if you're going to start your own business, especially if you're juggling it with family life or motherhood, is you have the support of your family. You know, when Happy Skin started, I made sure I talked to my husband and got his yes first. That's so important. I always say that the key, you know, people always think, how do you do it? You parang you have work-life balance, you're able to juggle things. But really, I always tell this to people, and I always say this, that my husband Paulo is really the key. You know, he's I won't all my any success I've achieved, it's all because of him, because he has been my number one supporter. He gave that yes when this all started. And you know, he in our home, it's balanced. It's not the traditional type that it's just the mother or the mom or the woman expected to do everything. Parenting is an equal role for us and an equal responsibility. And I'm so grateful I have that kind of husband. And, you know, he supports me in everything I have to do. And, you know, I think this the key to that work-life balance is having a supportive husband or a supportive partner.
And if your partner is not supportive or in any way maybe diminishes your ability to reach your full potential, then that's not good, right? And people should really consider these things when looking for the right partner.
That's right. I actually I remember one of I came across an article and said like as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest decisions you'll be making is who your life partner will be when you get into a business, because that will really determine the kind how your business will move forward, if you'll get that support or not, especially for women.
Right.
It's so different, you know, when women have their own business, or even as a working woman, they're still expected when they get home, they're still working, you know, attending to the home, managing the household, attending to the kids. There's just this different, the expectations of for women are so different from men, diba? So
Right.
I feel it's so important you choose a partner, or you are with a partner who understands that there you have the same responsibility even in the home.
And then, if it weren't enough that you were juggling all these, you decide to take an MBA, which would eat up all your nights, right? So, parang wala nang work-home balance, naging work-study balance. And this went on for 2 years. I remember you posted something on Instagram where it was 2 a.m. when you're still in the library. What were
Yeah.
those? First of all, why did you decide to take an MBA? Is it really needed? Like you were already succeeding in your business. Why did you feel the need to take an MBA?
Even before Happy Skin, I already wanted to take postgraduate studies talaga. In fact, that wasn't my first time to be an AIM. In around 2006, I think, or
Mhm.
I already took short courses with AIM. So I guess I wanted to test, you know, am I ready? It was such a big jump because you're out of school for such a long time
Right.
and you feel like, can I still do this? And then a part of me wanted to challenge myself, aside from really genuinely being so driven and hungry to study again. Because I feel like I'm the kind of person that believes that you have to never stop learning. I mean, you can never tell yourself that I know everything na that needs to be known or that needs to be learned. I know everything, because the moment you feel that way, that's when you stop growing. I'm until today, even if I finished my MBA, I'm so hungry to still learn and read and understand so many things. The world is changing so much. And when I took that executive MBA degree in AIM, again, I asked Paula's permission because I knew it wouldn't affect just me, but also him, our family life. And he had to be on board and agree to that decision. So he said yes, and he supported me all the way, as in all the way. If we couldn't go out as a family because I had a paper to do, or I had to read, or I had to study for an exam, my family was there also making those sacrifices together.
So what changed for 2 years? Did you ever see your children or
Oh,
right?
I since my classes were at night, so the kind of degree I took is the executive MBA degree, which allowed me to be in the office during the day,
Okay.
and I had my classes at night. Um, and what I missed was seeing my kids for dinner. When I would get home, most of the time they would be asleep already. So I got to see them good morning, or if it was a day that I didn't have class, I would get to see them and be with them. And also during the weekends. So those were some of the things that we had to go through. We couldn't travel because we only had Saturday and Sunday because I had class Friday, I had class Monday. And sometimes I would even have an exam during Saturdays or during the weekend. So travel was very something we had to give up. Um, so those were some of the sacrifices we had to make. And I guess the nerd in me would let me allow myself to still be in the library up to 2 a.m. because, I mean, I went through this. I have to give my all. I mean, sayang naman if I take it for granted. I really want to give my 110% to this.
Right.
And so it was a better studying environment for me to just stay in AIM than to bring home things and, try to study at home. I would get more done also.
Buti
That was my
bukas pa
quiet
yung
time.
library.
Yeah, the library would
24
have
hour library.
parang ganon, lalo na kung alam nilang thesis time.
And then you were also chosen to give the parang commencement speech, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah, so that was such a big, big, big honor to be able to do that because you represent your batch, and it's a milestone for all of us. And as a writer, I wanted to be able to. I had that pressure to balance balancing memories with a great message and something that would resonate even as we look back, or after many years when we look back on that day.
And then,
So
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
And then, if it weren't enough, you write a book.
Yeah. That offer came while I was still finishing my MBA.
So
And I,
sabay.
yeah, and I thought to myself, I have to strike while this chance is still here because I might not get the same chance when I finish my MBA. And I just took on the challenge and accepted it. And um, I I I explained to the school that I was also writing a book, and I got the offer to write the book. And when they found out, one of my mentors for my subjects suggested, "Why don't you make it your thesis?" I said,
Perfect.
"How? How? Why? This has never been done. The pressure doubled on me. Parang no one has made a book their thesis, and I felt so 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 pressured. That's why I was in the library even early
Oh,
morning
at
because of
least two birds with one stone, diba?
yeah, that's what the professor said. Na at least you're working on something, not a book that is also your thesis, instead of having a thesis and that book. But no one has ever done it, so I felt pressure that I was setting something the first time. It's the first time it was done. So what I
And
did was, for the book team, I didn't tell them that it was my thesis because I didn't want my publisher or the book team to feel influenced. They had a job to do to make sure the book was right, and I didn't want them to know that there was pressure on it being my thesis. So I only told them when the book was ready to be printed that Oh, by the way, the whole time while I was writing this is also my thesis.
You're the master of timing. You are the master of timing when to reveal to people some very crucial
Oo
things
nga, no?
in life, right? Parang you're
Timing
always
is very important.
wait, do I say this now or do I wait? And for the
Yep.
benefit of the viewers, mind you, it's not just a book, it's a summit book. And I may be
Yeah.
biased, but having come from Summit, we make sure that we produce really good books. And because your book is so helpful and it's very substantial, you interviewed the leaders of business and you made it really, really practical. It's not just like a vanity book showing beautiful photographs, but there's actually things you can highlight, which I have. And now it became a bestseller, and now Rissa just told me that they're gonna publish it as an ebook. How do you feel about the success after success for this book?
Wow. Thanks. I mean, when Summit approached me to invited me to write a book, which I have right beside me.
Oh
Thank
wow!
yeah. So I never ever ever imagined that I would be able to write a book, and that for that offer to come from Summit, an entity that I really highly respect for all the anything you guys ever put out was set the standards, and especially in publishing, that tripled the pressure. Also, aside from it being my thesis, writing a book, so many factors, but this is one of like the biggest honors because I never imagined, and having an editor and for a mom, and then parang
Daming pressure, grabe.
yeah, daming pressure. But it's different to have a book. It's forever. It's
Right.
it they say that a book immortalizes you because it's printed and it's forever. So that chance is really it's I don't take it for granted at all. And yes, I was discussing with my publisher recently, and they're working on making it into an ebook, and I'm so happy because I've been getting so many messages from people abroad. Hey, I can't
Oh
buy your
yeah.
book in the Philippines. Is there an ebook version? And I'd always have to say, no, I'm sorry. Maybe you can ask a relative to buy it and send it there. But now they're working on it
Yeah.
already.
Right. And being someone who is supposed to already write her book but can't
Yeah.
seem to do it, I'm really, really awed and inspired by you because you just keep getting it done. I mean, it's one thing to have plans and dreams, but it's another thing to execute and make the plans and dreams materialize. Do you have like a mantra or a motto to be able to manifest all these things that you just plan in such a short time? Parang nagawa mo na lahat. How
No
do you do it?
naman. No, I think in anything you ever go through, um, I really truly embrace the mantra or philosophy of do what's right even if it isn't easy. Because marami namang pwedeng, there are ways people can fast track something like success or fame or getting this job. But I don't think I can ever look back and tell myself it wasn't done the right way. Or my values were compromised. Ayoko ng ganun. Parang I really study my options, and I don't do things on a whim. You're right. When I announce something, timing is always key. I weigh things out. It's not Nothing is ever done on whim. Everything is always studied, calculated, and well thought out. And I think that's important. And in any endeavor you do, I think one of my biggest realizations is that you always have to know what your values are, and what you won't compromise. Like, kunyari, when I was modeling, I didn't want to compromise my being morena. And I stood firm to that. And even when you're in business, when you start a company or you get into a new job, what are the things you don't want to compromise about yourself. Once you know what those are, decision making will be easier. It's not going to be hard because nasabi mo na sa sarili mo, I will never do that, or I'm not going to get into that. I'm not that type of person, or this is how I want to operate, or this is how I want to live my life. So I think decisions are hard if there's a gray area on your values or your principles, or maybe choose five values or five principles that define you. Like those are your non-negotiables,
So
so
what are
that you
your
can stick to
five?
it. Wow. What are my five? Secret, baka gayahin. Joke lang.
Sige, sige.
No, no. I mean, I think
Or
that's
three na lang.
that's one of it. Like, do what's right, even if it isn't always the easiest. Integrity is so important. That's one. And family will always be number one. A lot of people always think, how do you juggle things? If you don't prioritize, learn to prioritize what is number one in your life. Number two, is it your finances? Is it family? Is it your career? If you don't have that in order, then you're just gonna, parang nagkakalat ka kasi hindi mo alam ano dapat gawin mo. But if it's clear to you, then you won't feel that pressure. It will be easier to find that work-life balance. Kasi, I said no to this kasi malinaw naman sa akin, ito ang number one priority ko. So I think prioritizing what's important to you is important, aside from,
Right.
having that list of your values.
So, walang whitening ang happy skin?
Not whitening. There are ingredients or products that help brighten. Like me, okay, there, kagat lang ng lamok, I easily get scarred, even if I don't scratch it and it doesn't become a wound. So people want to achieve an even skin tone. So there are products like that so that it evens out the complexion, but not necessarily.
Discoloration.
Yes. I mean, I think everyone goes through that. I'm morena, but I don't want to get white, but I'm always like that. I madali ako mag-scar. Kagat lang ng lamok or a scratch from a book. Wala na. It becomes a scar.
Speaking about seizing opportunities, right? Like, so many opportunities went your way and you seized them. Like, you could have said, I got pregnant, this is hard, I'll stop studying. But no, you pushed through. Or PMAP, presidency, you could have said, oh my God, how scary, I'm 23, how can I face these big wigs? Hirap nang gagawin ko. Huwag na lang kaya. But you pushed through. And then even drawback upon hurdle in business. Diba? It's not always paradise. It's not always honeymoon stage. You've been through ups and downs. And still you have the grit to push through. Also yung MBA, diba? Like MBA, trying to finish the MBA and then book offer comes along. I would probably have said, pwedeng wait na lang kayo next year kasi busy pa ako with the MBA. But no, sinabay mo siya. Where does that come from? And where do you summon the energy and the proactivity to like, say, sayang to, baka hindi na mangyari ulit. I'm gonna take it and take it as far as I can.
I don't know. Where do I get the energy? I think...
Or what is the spirit that drives you to just go lang ng go?
Maybe because I don't take things for granted. I mean, I don't look at myself as I'm there or I've done it. So you wait. Like, I don't take it for granted. So I really seize it, even if it will be challenging or hard. But I also know when to say no to things. Because at some point while I was doing my MBA, a set of friends wanted me to join another business.
Okay.
And Paolo was like, and I was like, oh, I love it. I mean, I felt so excited. And Tanya, babe, you can't compromise yourself. You have an MBA, you have happy skin, your family, your health. Something's gonna give. I mean, you learn to say no also to that. I mean, you don't have to do that now. I mean, later on, you just, it was for something. It's not beauty related, but it's something I also. Anyway, I ended up not pursuing it or being a part of it, because Paula's right, something's going to give. So I wanted to be able to focus on family, my MBA, and without compromising my health. And there was Happy Skin and the book and all of that. So actually, the book came after that business,
Oh, okay.
venture offer, and said, imagine if you did that, how will you be able to do the book? So yes, I do know how to say no to things also. And I think that's very important to Filipinas, kasi I think we have a culture where nahihiya ang Filipina
Yeah,
mag-no.
to say no.
Yeah, parang sige na nga, kasi nakakahiya, or I don't want to disappoint someone. But like I said, if you know your priorities, saying no won't be hard.
Right.
Because you know what's important. Like, I'm not gonna regret this decision because I knew it's for something more important, like my family and my health.
Yeah. Or even when maybe you've been given too much on your plate. Let's say you're an employee and then tambak lahat sa'yo kahit hindi dapat. We're afraid to say no, right?
Yeah.
So,
So I think you have to be honest, and takot rin kasi ang Filipina mag-speak up eh. I mean, what is
right.
it to say like, okay, I'm working on this. Can we adjust the timelines or the deadlines for this? I can do this and give this now, and then this part later on. I mean, yes lang ng yes kasi natatakot, nahihiya. So, know when to say no, but you have to know when to also speak up.
I remember when you were just starting out as a model and as the editor of Cosmo then, and I think I wanted you to write an article about the modeling industry. And then you said you would think about it. And I was like, aba, anong think about it? Napakagandang chance na. And then eventually you said to me, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say no because I thought about it and I thought, if I write about certain people, I might offend other people. And being so new in the industry, I think I don't want to be seen as favoring one over the other. So I'm going to say no. And I was so shocked. It's like, you earned my newfound respect because you actually knew what was important to you enough to say no. Not that I'm feeling important, diba? But parang, nagulat lang ako. But then I think it was an early indication of, okay, this girl, she knows what's important to her and what she needs to do. Do you remember that at all?
I can't remember that now. I feel like, I said no. But I do remember.
Pero galing, diba? Because you're ballsy enough to say, it's not working for me, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But, what I do remember, and I always tell you this, is because you've always been also like one of my big sisters in the modeling industry. And models would always have that turning point. And I remember when I would make it kwento to you, you're the one who parang naalala mo ba? And, so, models would always have that crossroad. Now, how will you know when you're finished now with modeling?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, we were in the summit office. I think Nicolette and I were there, one of my other best friends who also was modeling the same batch as me. And I remember asking you, how do you know when you're done with modeling? Because no one's gonna tell you, okay, you should move on, or tapos na, like tapos na shelf life mo as a model. How do you know that? And I remember you were telling me, you'll just know. And I felt like, here's naman ang answer na yan.
Labo.
But you know what? No, but it was the most important answer, because when I was at my crossroads, I just knew already. Like, I've given my 100% and I've accomplished all the things I wanted to accomplish already in this industry, and it's time to move on. So I think it's helpful to also have that list. Like, okay na, I've accomplished my job as PBB president. I've gotten my dream projects and all. So, again, you have to be honest with yourself. Hindi yung pipilitin mo pa yung sarili mo in an industry. And anyway, you've achieved what you wanted to achieve, your goal in being in that industry.
So applying that to Happy Skin, you've achieved so much. It's a success. You won whatever top awards should be on your bucket list. How do you see Happy Skin moving on into the future, and what are your goals for the brand and for yourself as an entrepreneur?
It's the cosmetic landscape has evolved so much since we
Right.
started.
When you
I mean,
started kayo lang, and then now, ang dami na.
which is good. Competition is always good because it will keep you on your toes. I mean, if there wasn't any competition or there aren't any new brands, we could just be sitting and relaxing and being campante. But competition will always push you to do better, to innovate, and to do more. So there are a lot of brands, and it's good. Filipinos have more choices. I mean, that's a great time to be a Filipina who enjoys makeup right now, despite the lockdown and work from home. I mean, I think a lot of women have like forgotten to put on makeup, and
Right.
but you know what? It's a different confidence. Like when you dress up, I've seen so many posts now. Today I decided to dress up, put on makeup, even if I have nowhere to go, kasi I miss it and I just want to feel
Yeah.
normal again. Kasi iba
Yeah.
talaga ang power of makeup, right? The
Right.
power
Right.
of, and a lot of people always tell me, um, isn't makeup so frivolous? And I say, no, it's not. It's part of good grooming. It's I look at it as part of good grooming. Like when I have a meeting, getting dressed and putting on makeup is part of my good grooming. And it's a form of respect to the people you're going to see. So I never, never, ever find it frivolous. And aside from, of course, the value of that self-confidence that it gives you, it just has a different power. Sometimes nasa bahay ka lang, swipe on a lipstick, okay, kaya ko na. Next thing to tackle. I'm gonna clean up this room. I'm gonna tackle this mess. Okay na, right? So I always like to think that Happy Skin contributed to that,
Spirit.
empowering the Filipina, and not being afraid of makeup, because the hurdles of the Filipina was they were afraid to use makeup because it would ruin their skin, and there was that frustration of finding something that suited that matched all skin tones. And I'd always like to think that Happy Skin helped empower Filipinas because we've taken out those hurdles for them. So now they can enjoy makeup without worrying about breaking out or ruining their skin, and whatever skincare routine they have, it will complement it. So I'm happy that the cosmetic industry is growing bigger because there's more than ever an interest, especially with social media, all the selfies, the videos, TikTok, Instagram. Looking good has never been looking presentable, and looking good has never been, more important.
So, contrary to what people may have thought, lockdown actually has probably been beneficial for. Has it for I don't know how your business is surviving or thriving during lockdown? Are you offering
I think Well,
delivery?
I think the lockdown has affected all businesses.
Right, correct.
Even if your business is able to pivot to deliveries or online, you were able to shift it online. It's not the same.
Of
In fact,
course.
it's such a hurdle for makeup because this is something you want to try in the store before you buy.
Right. It's
Masks
very
will be mandated, so instead of enjoying makeup on your lips, eyes will be the new focus. So there are a lot of hurdles because of this lockdown, but we're finding ways to still connect with the consumer. Like we have a one-on-one consultation, we're available online,
Oh
so
wow.
people can still, yeah,
It's a great
so people are
idea.
still able still enjoy the products by shopping online.
So, going back to lockdown, what are some of the lessons that you've learned about life and family in while doing research on you? Uh, One thing that you kept saying was, if you know what is important to you, you will have an easier time navigating life. And I'm sure the lockdown has now more than ever made people aware of what is truly important in life. So, what are some of your what they like to call learnings about life in lockdown? Apart from, like you said, Audra celebrated a very simple birthday, and you realize it's the simple things that matter.
Well, first would be that I feel one of my realizations that I feel super privileged and super grateful that I'm with my family during this lockdown, because not everyone is with the people they love. And they are the most important people I want to be with at a time like this, and a crisis. And I'm super thankful I'm locked down together with my family. Second would be, when it comes to the business industry, a lot of people have learned to pivot their businesses, be resilient, adapt, provide new value and new services. I think now, and I feel a lot of industries, not just in beauty, but fashion, restaurant, food, nailing trends aren't the important thing anymore, but nailing the kind of impact you can make right now. Everyone has shifted or made new realizations as well on what's more important, what isn't important, what are the essentials in life, and what aren't. So it's so important that it's so nice to see how all the businesses are shifting and adjusting so that they can make a better impact to despite the pandemic. Um, and lastly, what I really like and witnessed throughout this lockdown is that kindness is really timeless. We've seen everyone coming together, big and small, even if they're helping in their own neighborhood, that, everyone is doing everything they can to help save a life. So those are the things, that just are such eye openers. Like, this is like no other time in history, really. And it's amazing how everyone's really going through it together. And I think it doesn't matter if you're just going to, a lot of people feel pressure. Oh, I have to learn so many things, come out of this pandemic learning a new skill. But it's okay if you don't. We're
I
all
feel that
dealing with
way.
it. Yeah, because you see everyone trying to make the most out of time at home or time under lockdown. But a lot of people cope differently throughout this pandemic, and whatever will, I think the most important thing is to safeguard that mental and emotional well-being. If it means that this is the way you're going to cope and it's different from someone else, that's okay, because the important thing is you come out of this mentally and emotionally healthy, because that's what will allow you to carry on even after the lockdown. So yeah, we shouldn't be comparing how someone else is living their lockdown life compared to your own life.
A lot of people are now, of course, some are not working. You can't help but think of, okay, how am I going to pivot if I can't do what I used to do? Let's say people in the entertainment industry or the restaurant industry, suddenly they can't proceed as normal, right? If somebody were to ask you, okay, now I'm so inspired by Rissa, I want to put up a business. What are the top 3 things she needs to know first, considering what has happened to the world as we know it?
I think, first of all, if you're going to put up a new business after this pandemic, you have to make sure that it's there to make a difference. Consumers will be more diligent now in the choices they make. There's already so many other brands out there, but um, these, this is something that are ideas that were already emerging before, but I think the pandemic will all the more magnify it, that any brand after this, people will be seeking brands that have purpose, will be making an impact, whether it's to society or environmentally. And those are things people often overlook when they start a business. Kasi you're always thinking about the bottom line. But um, I think it's always important that um, you consider the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit. And it's not just about profit. So you also have to look at the other elements. And any new business will have to learn to look at that.
Wow, very well said. What are you teaching your children about what's happening and what's going to happen after? I love
It's
watching,
hard.
yeah. I love
It's
watching
it.
all your stories because there's always, even if I'm not a parent, there's always like a very inspirational story about how to raise human beings properly.
You know, I think kids are raising adults already in this era, because
That's right.
they're always they're the ones that show us what really matters and how we shouldn't be taking things for granted. And it's, the nice thing about having children is you see the world with a fresh set of eyes, through their experiences. And it's a challenging time to, be with kids throughout this pandemic, because it was hard. At first, they were so hurt.
Yeah.
School
Were
was
they
cut.
scared?
They had so many questions. Where did the virus come from? How does the virus look like? Even childlike questions like, does the virus have other friends, many names? What are the other names? I mean, we tried to answer all their questions, and we didn't sugarcoat it, but we also didn't want to scare them. So we explained things in a simple way without taking out the truth. So we had to explain everyone's on a lockdown now, everyone's quarantined. And we've been spending a lot of our free time also bonding with watching movies. And there was one movie we watched that it showed kids in a classroom. And after the movie, Audra was crying and she said, I
Oh,
miss my classmates, I miss school. And it's hard. Parang how do you comfort someone like that when I don't even have the answers on when school will go back, when everything will, be when it will be safe to go out again. The last thing Paolo and I want is to make them feel afraid or to blame this experience for things they missed out on.
right.
So we always remind them that we're all going through this. It's not just you guys. All the other kids are experiencing the same thing, because I don't want them to hate. I hate the virus. I blame it. My life is so
Right.
different because of you. So it's so important to remind them that everyone's going through it. So well, they have a lot of energy. It's been such an amazing, bonding time while on a lockdown. Like I said, I'm very fortunate that I'm locked down with my own family, because they're the most important people to be with at a time like this. um and it's interesting because Audra always said she wants to be a doctor, and even after we explained what frontliners had to deal with or the risks they were taking, she said she still wanted to be a doctor. And I kind of, alam mo yun, parang on one side I felt like, oh, when this pandemic happened, I realized now I know why my parents wanted me to become a doctor, kaya pala. And even
Oh,
when the lockdown started, I was like, I wish I was a doctor so that I can help. I felt that frustration talaga. And now I was like, wow, Audra wants to be a doctor. So, sa kanya matutupad. Hopefully, maybe, my parents' dream. But of course, at the end of the day, there's no pressure. Anything she ever wants to
right.
be, Paul and I will always support. I mean, she's saying that now, like the same way I said I wanted to be a prima ballerina, and dreams always change. And we always tell them that, like, don't ever close your eyes to experiences and opportunities, because the more you learn, the more people you meet, the more you know what you deserve, what you want, and where you want to go.
So, for sure, you're doing something right. And as you have said often, you need to do what's right. So, thank you so much, Risa. We learned so much today from you.
Thanks
And
so much, Mirza.
thank you for putting on makeup. I don't know if you've been putting on makeup every day during the lockdown, but it's a great way to use your happy skin again.
No, I mean, I think it's been a balance of makeup and skincare. I
And
think everyone's
skincare.
spending their lockdown also enjoying
Right.
all the skincare routines they can try, and, without any downtime, and, really being diligent with following their skincare routine.
Right. Because after all, it's self care. Thanks again,
Yeah.
Risa.
Thanks so much, Mirza.
And hi to the family.
Thanks. And hi to Andre also.
Right. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for
Thanks,
watching.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.